Hello, Rama Pupotu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with the next devotee, Walter Kears. Walter Kears was an admirable devotee of Bhagavan from Holland. In 1985, Walter invited his friends to his house and gave a talk on the direct teachings of Bhagavan. As they were leaving, he said, "Please stay back." He informed them that he was going to drop his body. Imagine, this was said not in a cave in Tiruvannamalai but in Holland. Walter first stood a large picture of Bhagavan on the floor. He then put a cushion before the picture and lay down. He smiled joyfully and in a trice dropped his body. The people gathered around noticed that Walter's head was touching the feet of Bhagavan in the picture. What a beautiful culmination to a life of surrender. Walter was certainly a jealous person because he gave up his body just as Videha Mukta would do. The Hindu scriptures make a distinction between two kinds of self realization, Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. When a person is in the state of Jivan Mukti, he is in state of oneness even while he is alive. People who look at him can intuitively understand that here is a realized soul. A Videha Mukti is one who is completely established in a blissful state at the time he leaves the body. As a managing editor of the Mountain Path, I was in close correspondence with Walter. After its editor, Arthur Osborne, passed away in 1970, the editorship was taken up by the other scholar devotees, and I took on the responsibility of collecting articles for the issues. This is how my association with Walter developed. He always obliged me by being prompt. Every article was soaked in his individual and personal experience of being immersed in the self. Whatever we have about Walter Kears has been obtained from these articles. We are indebted to David Godman for editing and compiling them. According to Bhagavan, God, the Self, and the Guru are synonymous and identical. God or the Self chooses a vessel and fills it with divine wisdom. This is done right from the devotee's childhood days. This is something that you must have observed in the previous chapters. Almost all the people mentioned there have been attracted in some form or the other to the truth or to God, or have had an experience of transcending body and mind. Walter Kears was undoubtedly one such person who was chosen by the Self. Walter Kears was born in Holland in a clergyman's family. They were devout Christians. Walter himself said that such families were rarely found. At the age of 5, Walter had a remarkable experience, which at a later stage he realized was a spiritual one. A family friend was visiting and was conversing with them. Being a child, Walter was not interested in any of the conversation. However, his ears perked up when he heard the words British India. The child was thrilled for some inexplicable reason because he realized that there was something mysterious about it. Though the child had no comprehension of the word, it was a spiritual experience of some kind. When he was still the same age, Walter was playing one day outside in the field with mounds of sand. He chanced to see a hedge that had pink flowers with fluffy balls. Suddenly, everything, including the hedge, the flowers, even his body, disappeared into a light. Everything around him was brilliant light. True, he belonged to a family of theologians, but he couldn't bring himself to discuss this experience with any member of his family and asked for an explanation. Until he was 21 years old, Walter did not understand that these were spiritual experiences. One day he was seated next to an elderly man on a bench. The man was reading a book, when suddenly, for no reason at all, he read out a passage. Walter did not pay attention to the words, but again everything merged into the same kind of light, just like it had happened when he was 5. In the Hindu scriptures, such a state of transcending the world and everything else is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Walter had experienced this state thrice by the time he was 21 years old. This time he was brave enough to ask his family for an explanation. He told them, "This has been happening to me repeatedly." His family brushed his queries aside, saying, "These are bizarre experiences. Do not pay any attention to them." Walter was disappointed at their response to his genuine queries. He then asked his friends. None of them could understand or even share his thirst to know more about his experiences. Let's continue in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupote.